by talking about the course assignments and grades. There's a chart here in the syllabus that lists all the course assignments that have points associated with them, and you can find that on these 2 pages. Right now, I just want to point out that the course is out of 1,000 points. So at the end of the semester, I'm going to add up, really the Canvas gradebook is going to add up all the points you earned on each assignment. I'll take that whole number and I'll round it to the nearest whole number, and then I will find the letter grade on this grade scale that you see here, and I'll assign that letter grade to you through my CSN. Notice that there is plus or minus grades in my grade scale. There's no A plus, and there's also no F minus, so that's good. We're not going to kick you while you're down there. To keep track of your grade, you can look at the Canvas gradebook throughout the semester online, and I'll populate that as I go. You can also calculate your grade manually if that helps you, and I describe how to do that here. When it comes to late and missed assignments, you should prepare yourself if you are beyond just a few minutes late. You should prepare yourself for the potential that you're going to receive a 0 on that assignment. Remember that uploading videos to YouTube can take a bit of time, especially if it's a longer speech. So please take that into account when you're submitting your speeches. If you need extensions on assignments, I'm generally able to give you one, but you gotta communicate with me ahead of the due date. I'm gonna need to change the settings in Canvas. So if I haven't approved your extension before the due date passes, you should prepare yourself for the possibility that you're going to receive a 0. There are 3 speeches this semester, 3 major graded speeches this semester, and they are listed here. A speech of introduction, where you'll introduce yourself and your cultural identity, an informative speech, and a persuasive speech, and I'll talk more about each of these as the semester progresses. For each of these speech assignments, I'm going to post the following: an assignment prompt, very detailed, a rubric, even more detailed, that will tell you exactly how I'm going to score your speech. That's in the assignment prompt. I'll also give you a video lecture where I'll talk about the assignment, and I'll give you a sample speech outline that will give you a sense of what this speech composition might look like. Please note the following speech submission requirements. Most of the due dates are at 11:59 p.m. at the end of the day. You're going to submit your speech videos to YouTube, and you'll provide a link to that YouTube video in Canvas. There's information on how to start a YouTube account in the modules. I just want to point out that when you set your videos in YouTube, if you set them to public, everybody will be able to see them. If you set them to unlisted, only people who have the link will be able to see it. So I highly recommend that you set your YouTube videos to unlisted. That way it won't appear in YouTube's algorithm. And then don't set your videos to private, because then I won't be able, and your classmates won't be able to view your speeches. If you miss the speech assignments, and they're worth a lot, and you didn't make arrangements with me, that's a big deal, and I don't guarantee a score for missed or late speech assignments, as I mentioned. Speech outlines for each of the speech. I'm going to ask you to create an outline ahead of time and submit it before your speech, and this is so that you are able to rehearse adequately for your speeches. So you're going to prepare the message and then use these outlines to rehearse from. And the speech outlines are due a few days before the speech video is due. You should do your outlines in something like MS Word. MS Word is recommended, and you can get Microsoft programs from CSN for free. Follow this link in the syllabus. I'm not going to grade your speech if you don't upload a speech outline, and you, of course, need to do that by the due date. So if you're not preparing your speech and practicing your speech and rehearsing your speech adequately before the deadline, and you're just scrambling at the last minute to write your outline and give your speech, I'm not going to grade it. So make sure you submit that outline early. My purpose for collecting the outline is to force conditions where you rehearse. It's not to give you feedback ahead of your speech. I won't even look at your outline until you submit your speech video. So if you want feedback on your outline, then you should reach out to me directly, and you should do that with plenty of time. For speeches 1 and 2, I'm going to ask you to submit your video link to a discussion board so that other students can watch your speech and then give you feedback on that discussion board. And I'm going to ask you to watch 2 other students' speeches and give them thoughtful praise, compassionate, constructive criticism. And I ask when you are responding to each other's speeches that you give priority to speeches that have not yet received comments. So I'll give you credit for doing this if you submit your link and if you respond thoughtfully based on the assignment prompt. In addition to the 3 speeches, and associated with each of the 3 speeches will be 3 short speech exercise videos that will have you exercising select public speaking skills. So these are low stakes speech assignments. They are not the major speeches, so don't get them confused with the major speeches. There will be speech 1, speech 2, speech 3, and speech exercise 1, speech exercise 2, and speech exercise 3, and those are different things. You will, though, respond to each other's exercise videos as well as your speech videos, so there'll be a grade for giving each other some feedback on that. There'll be reading this semester, of course. I talked about the textbook already. And for each of the readings, there will be a quiz associated with it. It's multiple choice quiz. It's based on reading comprehension of those chapters. You will need to download and install onto your machines a thing called the Respondent's Lockdown Browser. Basically, that will just, while you're taking the test, it will lock down your computer so that the only thing you can do on your computer is take the test until the test is completed. Once you complete the test, then you're free to surf the web, do whatever. Do people say surf the web anymore? I don't know why I just said that. So anyways, you can find more information on the Lockdown Browser on our Canvas page. The quizzes are available once they've been posted and all the way up until their due dates, which they become unavailable. You may only take a quiz once. I do not allow for makeup quizzes. They are timed quizzes. If you run into any technological issues while taking the quizzes or trying to get the Respondent's Lockdown Browser, you can call this number here. I'm not going to be able to help you with technical issues with Canvas because I'm not a technician. So I'll help you with communication education if you'd like, but you need to call that number for technical help, and it'll be up to you to kind of solve those issues. Most likely it's something on your end. Concept quizzes are going to be like short reflections, short answer quizzes, little higher level thinking based on the readings that we do and some of the video lectures that I give. There will be a plagiarism quiz that will go along with the student lingo workshop, Understanding and Avoiding Plagiarism. So you'll need to take that plagiarism quiz. I'll talk about student lingo here in a second down there. There will be a final exam. So along with the reading comprehension quizzes, there'll be a final exam that's kind of based on those multiple choice questions from the reading comprehension quizzes. A study guide will be provided, and this will come at the end of the semester. It'll be taken just like the quizzes. For each of the speeches, you'll submit a topic and thesis statement for my approval. I will review these submissions, and I will give you feedback, and I may ask for revisions. And you should try to get my approval so that you know that you are doing a topic that works for this class. Student Lingo Completion Certificate is an online My Coyote Success workshop is what they're called. And you can find that through GoCSN by typing My Coyote Success into GoCSN. You'll take a few of these, I think 3 of them this semester. They take about 20, 30 minutes to complete. At the end of them, you'll get a certificate. You'll then upload that certificate to Canvas, and that's how I'll know you've completed those online workshops. There'll be also some miscellaneous graded discussion boards throughout the semester. Okay, this is really important, and I want to spend some time with it because this will really kind of make or break whether or not I will accept your speech videos. The major 3 speeches, speech 1, speech 2, speech 3, the introduction speech, informative speech, persuasive speech. They need to follow these rules. So I'm going to take some time with them. I reserve the right to fail any student on any speech if you don't follow these rules. At the beginning of your video, you'll start recording and you'll state your name and the assignment. After identifying yourself on video, take a shot of the audience. Yes, you are required to have a live, physically present audience with you in the room, and that needs to be made up of at least 2 people. And these people should be age appropriate for college level work, and I described that down here as being someone who is 13 or older. So 2 people in your room. If you're worried about safety of those people because of COVID or whatever, then read this note here about how to keep your audience safe during the filming of your video. But you're going to need 2 people in your audience, and you should after you say your name, you should show the audience. Then you're going to need to clearly show each of your note cards to the camera. So I need to be able to see the text on the cards. Hold these cards that you show me close to the camera. Use those in your hand. Hold them in your hand during your speech and use them to prompt your memory. You're going to show those cards again, once again at the end of the recording. I'll mention that here in just a second. The 4th thing you should do, you need to stand during the entirety of your speech, clear of any obstructions. So we're not using a podium, no table, no countertop should be used. And you're going to need to stand at least 6 feet from the camera. So don't be sitting at a desk and don't have your face up in the camera. You should need to be a distance away from the camera so that I can see your entire body. You should record your speech from the audience's point of view. In other words, the camera should be placed in the audience and you should be directly in front of the camera, 6 feet away from it or more. I must be able to see your face and body clearly for the entirety of the speech, and I need to be able to hear you clearly for the entirety of the speech. If your video has volume problems or visual problems, I'm going to need a new video from you. So make sure that you are standing correctly in the frame. There is an example video in the modules that will show you exactly how to set up your speeches and show you where to stand in relationship to the camera. While you are recording your speech, the 5th thing to keep in mind, don't zoom in, don't zoom out. So once you've started speaking the speech, don't move the camera. If you need to move it to show the audience, obviously, in the note cards, that makes sense. But once the speech has started, the camera is fixed into one position. Ideally, you're using some sort of tripod or camera stand. If someone's holding the camera, they need to hold it steady. Don't move it back and forth. I want to be able to see and evaluate your movement, and if it's moving, that's difficult to do. So this means that you need to stand in the center of the frame, and you should avoid walking or pacing. You can turn your body, and we'll talk a little bit about how to do that in an upcoming video, but you shouldn't walk because then you'll end up leaving the frame of your video. This is different if you, of course, aren't recording a video, but we are, so I'm asking you to stand stationary, not walk. The audience should be quiet and, for the most part, not interact with you. Shouldn't interrupt with you. Shouldn't try to have a conversation with you. If there's quick planned interactions, that's fine. But ultimately, they should not interrupt you. It's not a question and answer, and there should be no question and answer session. I just want to hear you speak for an extended period of time for an audience. You can encourage applause at the end. Ensure that there's basically no distractions, that there's not a lot of noise or interference that makes it difficult for me to evaluate the speech. If it's a real big problem, I may ask you to redo the video. Do not read your speech. This is very important. Do not read the speech in its entirety off of your note cards. Do not read large chunks of your speech off of your note cards or a script. Note cards are for prompting memory. So you're looking down, you're glancing at your note cards, you're looking back up, and you're speaking to the audience. The note cards are for keeping you on track. They do not carry your speech, they prompt your speech. So do not pretend to use your note cards and actually be using some other script somewhere else off screen. That would be definitely considered cheating. I want you to speak in what's called an extemporaneous style, and you'll read about that in our course textbooks. Essentially, you're guided, you're prepared, but you are able to speak from memory and also add impromptu if necessary. To demonstrate you are not reading your speech, I expect you to turn your body and your eye contact to different parts of the room. So you're not staring at one point, so don't stare at the camera. The camera can be one of the places you look, but you want to turn your body and your eye contact to different parts of the room, as one does when speaking to a large audience on a stage. So when we're doing our major speech assignments, all of them, we're simulating a speech on a stage before a large audience. We're not staring directly into a camera for these assignments. There'll be a video on this. Getting there. This is important, though. Number 9, when you're done with your speech, show me the audience again. Number 10, when you're done with your speech, show me each of the note cards that are in your hand once again. Remember, don't do that. Remember, there is no editing of the video recording allowed. So you'll press record, it'll stay recording, and then when you're finished with everything, you'll press stop, and then you'll submit that video file. Your video will be longer than the time required for the actual speech. I'll measure the time for your speech based on when you start speaking your speech and the end. So just keep that in mind. The videos are longer than the speeches themselves. So don't edit your videos. Don't stop and start the camera during the video. And do not splice video together. If you are not following any of these rules, again, I reserve the right to fail you on that assignment. And depending on the severity and the particulars of the situation, I could allow for a redo. There's some notes here about the safety of your audience. So make sure you review these speech recording rules. They're very, very important. Generally, don't cheat in the class. Yeah, show respect for the Fellowship of Scholars. Show respect to yourself. Do your own work. Cite your sources when you are drawing sources, when you're drawing information from sources or course materials. You can read about plagiarism and cheating in the academic integrity policy, which I link down here. Whether you are quoting or paraphrasing someone else's work, you need to cite those sources, and failure to do so is plagiarism. This applies to the speeches, speech outlines, and submitted papers. We'll be using Modern Language Association citation style for your papers and outlines, and we're going to use oral citation for our speeches. Buying a paper, copying text from websites, turning in work that you've done in previous classes. So if you have like an English persuasive paper, don't turn that in for your persuasive speech outline. Do all original, unique work for our class. Don't do other people's work as your work. I run your stuff through anti-plagiarism software. So suspected cases will be investigated and potentially submitted to code of conduct violation. If you don't know what you're doing, contact me. Here's a note on ChatGPT. Read this closely, please. Basically, you should avoid or limit your use of ChatGPT to the initial research process. it's like a Google search, It's quick reference materials, so it's a good starting point. But, it hallucinates. It fabricates information. It's not a primary or secondary source of information, so all facts provided by ChatGPT must be verified using more reliable sources. And that's especially true for academic work. So to avoid cheating, do not copy, paste, transcribe, or paraphrase anything from ChatGPT or other advanced AI. Speak and write, please, in your own unique human voice. Paraphrase and draw information from credible sources. Speeches that use ChatGPT beyond the initial phrases will receive a 0, and you could get a student code of conduct violation. All right. In this course, we're going to talk about adult topics that are germane to public discourse and debate, and they might be controversial to some. We're going to try to engage in open inquiry and conversation in a civil manner. So that means no hate speech. Basically, don't disrespect, don't attack each other. Do not use hate in this class, and if you do anything that I deem to be disruptive or hostile, I'll take appropriate action in those circumstances. Don't disrupt other people's right to education. If you need accommodations or have accessibility issues that you'd like me to know about, please reach out to me and communicate with me. You also should work with the DRC to get these accommodations in writing, and that way you'll have the full weight of the law behind you, and then your teachers will have to accommodate you. But I invite you to open this discussion with me early on so that I can accommodate you. If you need extra help, tutors, we have some on campus. Here's where you can find them. They're graduates of oral communication, so they know what they're doing on these speeches. We also have some awesome librarians who can help you with your research. They're both in the library, just sitting there waiting for you at a reference desk, and they're online as well and can chat with you through the library website that you see here. Make sure that you are using the advisors on campus to know what your career path and your major is, and how you can get your degree path worked out. So here's a link to that. If you need food, if you need mental health counseling, you have already paid for it. You might as well use it. Here's some links to those resources here. I'm an ally of the LGBTQ community. I'm a member of the LGBTQ plus community. And so I can offer you, I'm actually the chair of the Gender and Sexuality Alliance, a faculty group on campus. So if you have questions, need resources, I'm a good resource for that. Here's the refund policy. Know it. Know when you can withdraw from class with a full refund, a half refund. And there's a date when you can't drop the class any longer. And so if you're failing or you decided you just didn't want to take the class and you didn't drop, at one point you'll be locked in and you'll get an F rather than a W. So make sure you know and follow through if you decide to withdraw from this course. Okay, a lot of information, but I hope that was helpful. In the next video, I'll talk about the calendar.